And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the VlogCast. VlogCast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This VlogCast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect when some people that I knew from high school who were on Facebook were complaining that I was correcting what they were posting because it was wrong, which is not what you're supposed to do on Facebook, because you're supposed to post what you want on Facebook because that's the way to do it right. So my wanting to post corrections was wrong. Part of this is also to follow up with the whole idea that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm known as Shujin Tribble all over the place. You can find me under that name pretty much everywhere, just as some people have put it, just Google that stuff. And usually it's not the word stuff, but we'll come back to that later. I was born to a Roman Catholic family in Brooklyn, New York, raised on Long Island. I currently reside outside of Buffalo, New York, and am an unabashed atheist. As you can see, we have a number of people on the round table tonight, so give me a little bit of patience while we get around to everybody. Starting out west, way out west, on the U.S. side, Ashley, welcome back, hon. Welcome home.
Hey, Fusion. Are we just supposed to say what got us here?
Well, what quick, short angle brings you over here? What you identify as? What name you want to go by? Hey, you is not appropriate.
I'll just go by Ashley. I am a agnostic atheist. Was never much into religion. Mom dragged me to church, and I thought it was boring, and just stuck in rural Oklahoma, pulling my hair out and trying to get through it all.
Moving to the north and over the border into Canada is Dallin.
Good evening once again, folks. I'm known online as Dallin. I was born and raised here in Canada, a little bit further east, though. I was born to a Lutheran family, but they weren't what you'd call overly religious. I was always encouraged to have an open mind, ask questions, never stop learning. That served me all through my life up to now, and I was pretty much a live and let live kind of person until I started seeing the real damage religious fundamentalism was doing, not just over the pond there in the Middle East, but also starting to hit a little bit too close to home. I decided at that point it was time to take up arms, and I decided to choose the side of rationality, skepticism, and, yes, atheism.
Moving to the east in Canada, Heretic Woman.
Hello, folks. I'm Heretic Woman. I am from Ontario, Canada, the other side of the continent. I grew up in the United Church of Canada, which is pretty liberal. Then I did something crazy and joined a Calvinist sect, not one of my brighter decisions. But I became an atheist at 17. I've been one for a number of years now, and I too have decided that I can't just let the dangers of fundamentalism take over, and this summer became an activist. I now have 2 shows of my own and hang out here, and yeah, gonna be heard.
Moving to the south of me to Pittsburgh, Joseph. Or sorry, Joey. I'm sorry. I gotta keep these straight. Joey.
Yes, you would call upon me while I'm in the middle of shit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph. I was born in Chicago to a Roman Catholic family. I spent 8 years in the United States military, and I am currently living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as a graphic designer and an atheist.
Moving to the southeast into Maryland. Just teasing you this time. Unrenowned Tech.
Hi, I'm the Unrenowned Tech, which is why I have not Google searched myself, because what's the point? I grew up in a mixed religious background and tried out a bunch of things. It all came down to, just there's no proof. There's no evidence. I'm sorry, but faith? Yeah, no. Nothing. So I'm interested. And as you can see, it's as black and white as that.
Fair enough. Taking us across the pond over to England, and Chris.
Oh, hi, I'm Chris from England. I was raised sort of nominally Catholic, but it sort of never took. I was quite atheist, going about my business for years, and then I started hearing more and more nonsense in terms of crazy alternative medicine, mad psychics, etc., in the news, and started getting more interested in the whole skepticism, critical thinking thing, which sort of led me to onto the atheist community.
And then going south across the channel over to Paris and Joseph.
Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm originally from London, Ontario, Canada, but I moved here to Paris in 1989. I was brought up an Anglican and started becoming atheist around 18 years old. And my latest kick is promoting critical thinking in education, critical thinking.
Fair enough. First off, of course, folks, welcome. This is episode number 50, which means it is another Power of 10 episode. As you will see in the title, this is going to be a specifically not safe for work show. If you're looking for something that you can share around, this is not going to be it. So if you need to just move on at this point, that's perfectly fine, because you'll find fuck all worth to listen to otherwise. However, before we get into the meat and potatoes of it all, it's typical, with apologies to Heath and Noah, 5 minutes on the clock. I got inspiration as far as to what I was going to end up talking about today. I heard a couple of things on various podcasts that kind of got me. And then it turned out that there were a couple of things that I heard and something that I read. And there are two items that have stuck with me for this week that I want to make mention to. From the Merseyside Skeptics group, Michael Marshall, who has the Be Secularly Reasonable, or whatever the name of that show is, he said something that really caught my attention, which was, loosely translated, was, bring me the evidence so I can see it and judge for myself. Which just makes sense. I will change my opinion once I have something to examine. And it makes perfect sense. I mean, we've heard so many different times of all of these different logical fallacies about what you should be looking forward to, what you should be looking at, what you should be expecting to see. And we talked about, when Noah, Heath, and Lucinda were on with us way back when, we talked about the theistic tropes. And one of the things was, what would it take for you to change your opinion, to believe in a God? And I had these great ideas. I had these great, wonderful, grandiose ideas as to what it would take. And then Noah just softballed. A nice and simple one. Give me some statistical evidence that shows that believers get diseases in a different rate than normal people, that churches are struck down by lightning less often than everything else, that they survive floods and fires and damnation and all that stuff. And I listened to it even at the time, and I'm just like, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense. It's simple, it's elegant. You know what? All the stuff that I said before, off the table. Forget about it. Forget I ever said it. I was dumbass for even saying it. I'm going to change my tune. I'm with you. I'm a believer in your method. Because it made more sense. Because it was simpler. It made more sense. It was something that would be very easy to simply identify by running the numbers. Now, as we know full well, and I've said it before, because Fujin, my wife, used to say it, numbers don't lie. You can make the numbers say whatever you want them to say afterwards to try and figure out what the correlation is. But the numbers don't lie. So if there's something that says that a structure gets destroyed less often, cool, that's at least something that we can hang our hat on. We can go looking for that. There's statistical anomalies that'll happen at different times, sure, but when you get a large enough sample, you get the idea. So I'm on board with that. I changed my tune. As a matter of fact, within like 2 minutes of him bringing that up and thinking about it and going, that makes sense. All right, you got me. So we as skeptics, we as atheists or agnostics or non-believers of whatever stripe, we're not married, so to speak, to the idea. We're not looking at it and just saying, it's got to be that way. We're ready to just go ahead and say, just show me something that's worth my time to, examine and figure what way to go. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Because the other one that came up was what was written in a tweet. And I have Barroom Atheist to thank for this one. And it hurts. I asked for permission. He gave me permission to use the quote. He even said, you want to use the audio, go right ahead. His quote was, if it weren't for religion, there would still be another 12 cartoonists in the world. Now, I'm paraphrasing because it's tough to look at that and not realize, damn, it's right. So what's the harm? What's the harm in not changing your mind? It's simple. There are 12 families that are hurt. That's why changing your mind is important. This is episode number 50, which means that as a Power of 10 episode, we are going to talk about whatever we want. We are going to curse up a storm. We are going to lay waste to any topic that decides to come across our doorstep. And oh shit, wait a minute. I was about to say that there's a lack of a mat in front of the door, but I'm gonna start grabbing somebody else's lines, and I don't know that that's necessarily such a good thing. But
I think that's a set of wrath you really don't want to bring down at this point.
I have a real simple way to phrase a Power of 10 episode. You're going to hear the word shit, damn, and or fuck, such as fuck you, Mike Huckabee.
No. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. Tonight, you can expect to hear words such as the following 7. Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits. Thank you, George Carlin.
And twat waffle.
Twat waffle. That's one of my favorites.
We miss you, George.
There's going to be so much. There's going to be enough profanity on this show that if George Carlin's ghost actually does exist, he will be smiling and laughing his fucking ass off. Eh?
Fucking right.
There we go.
that's great. So
Right beside Joe Pesci.
It's always nice that we Canadians could just accent that word, you know?
Fucking A.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say hello to all the ladies, Katie and Stephanie and the other Miss Ashley. Hello.
Hey.
Yep. Very much so. So, if you are watching live at this point, and apparently there are several of you, first off, thank you. It really does mean a lot to us.
Yeah, we have 3 viewers today instead of 2.
That's nice. Who knows? We may even crack into double digits sometime. But we of course heavily encourage you to take advantage of the question and answer system. We'll be more than happy to field whatever it is that you've got past you. We have noticed, so don't go say anything about it. We have noticed that for whatever reason, Google Hangouts has had this weird echo thing going on recently. Don't know what that's from. So I don't know that necessarily muting us, our individual mics, is really going to do anything with it, but we'll plow through it as best we can, and we'll see about muting ourselves out if necessary to help things along.
I just mute out because I still got that little tickle in my throat, and the last thing I think this audience needs to hear is me hacking up a lung again. So
Yeah.
you'll see me muting in and out.
Even with a cool accent.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've yet to see a time where coughing is considered sexy. So
You obviously need to go to Japan a little bit more often. So, I
Yeah, he
really
went
didn't
there
bring
first.
anything. I really didn't bring anything to the table, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there for you guys. What would you guys like to bitch about tonight? Because this is going to be a fucking bitch fest, and I don't give a shit. Who cares?
There are two things I do have to wonder based on some news that happened in the past little while. And I mean, every show and their dog's show has quoted this. I mean, shit. George Hrubb had this one on the Geologic podcast recently too, on his religious moron of the week, which to me is the progenitor of so much of the religious dumbfuckery news out there. And it has to do with the recent fatwa or however you want to call it.
Is that the one with snowmen?
Forbidding the construction of snowmen because it is an offense to Islam.
Oh,
No,
Yeah,
please.
no dancing, no music, no snowmen.
Yeah, but let me run with this. Now, first off...
Wait, hold on. If there's a fatwa against snowman, if they make a snow woman, do they have to put a snow veil over her?
that's part of the problem.
That's a good question.
The dumbass said that it was too sexual to make snow people.
Yeah, which, but
Yeah,
of
the
course
carrot.
that tells me then that, they say it promotes pornography and lustiness. So what
Yes.
they're saying is that Muslim men are attracted to balls
Apparently,
and
Big
carrots that maybe look like phallic symbols.
big weight balls.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They're not the right color. So you build the snowmen
yeah.
and then you cover them in sand and they'll look great.
Okay,
Oh, boy.
are you
But
building
anyways.
giant balls in a wet sand?
Yeah. But so a few questions came up, at least on my end about it. One of the ways I heard this phrased was that it was a woman who had written to a cleric or imam or whatever the fuck they're called, asking the question if it was okay to build a snowman. Which,
Yeah, I'm calling.
But that
I'm
makes
calling bullshit on that one, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Go ahead.
No. Okay, like I said, I don't know if this is how it came about or what, but if it did, wouldn't it be awesome to know that even over there they have like the 700 Fatwa Club, and this guy is like their answer to Pat Robertson? Like, how awesome would that be? You call in, or sorry, you mail in your question because email is of the great white Satan. So what? He opens a letter, reads, and goes, "Oh, okay, we're gonna put a fatwa against this right now." Boom. It just makes you wonder. Or did this all come about because he watched Frozen and was sick and tired of listening "Do you want to build a snowman" as much as the rest of us?
Would you like to build a snow goat? Okay, now here's the thing. I want to know.
Dude, just let it go, man. Let it go.
Oh,
I can't stand
I
that
saw
song.
what you did there.
What I want to know is, I want to bring this to you guys because you brought it up. Somebody went ahead.
That wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Somebody had to intentionally write in at just the right time when there was snow suddenly in Saudi Arabia. In the Joey, help me out on this one. Best of your recollection, this was the first time that it had snowed in Saudi Arabia, like in recorded history.
Wait. When was this?
This was within the last month or so.
Okay. Snow in the Middle East is not that unheard of. I mean, it's a rare fucking thing, but it's not unheard of. I was there in Baghdad in 2008,
Something.
2009, something like that, and it piled on us. First time it snowed in Baghdad in 60 years.
Okay. Okay, so that's, you know what? That's a piece I didn't know about.
It's
so.
rare, but it's not impossible.
Okay, so my thing is this. If it was rare, if not necessarily unheard of, but if it was kind of rare, that means that somebody had to have been primed to ask this, and it got mailed in one way or another, and got shuttled to the top of the list for somebody to look at, to go ahead and say, no, you can't do that. Now, like I said, I'm calling bullshit on this one because this sounds to me like somebody said, oh, you know what, maybe I should... Who should I say wrote this in? Bob. Bob from Islamabad has gone ahead and written in. That's who it's going to be. That's what I think has actually happened on this one. So, you know, Ashley, you're not doing anything. I'm pulling you in on this one. What do you think? How likely do you think that this was planned? Because just an opportunity to just say, yeah, we want to go ahead and wave our dick around on this one.
I don't know what to say to that.
Wow, big fucking help you are tonight. Thank you ever so much.
I think you had heard waving the dick around. I think that's what kind of caused you to trip
That's
up
what
a little
caught
bit.
me off.
Yeah. It's like, he was normally such a nice guy, but then he said the word dick, and I didn't know him anymore.
I was so ready.
Just supplement labia, just say somebody waving the labia around.
Okay. Do we really have to bring in the Tammy Faye Baker references right now? Come on.
Ew.
I just ate, for Christ's sake.
Oh shit.
All right, so you know what? Let's work it this way instead. Let's take it from a different angle. These kinds of fatwas, these kinds of pronouncements where it's "you shall not have fun." Tell me, I mean, really, doesn't this really qualify as just religious dick waving? I mean, that's the only way.
Totally.
I have a better one than just don't do fun stuff.
Sure. Go ahead.
This is one, it's 3 or 4 years old now, but this is a fatwa out of Egypt. And there was an issue, I think it was in Cairo, and there was a business that had male and female workers. And they were having problems because they didn't know what to do with having the women in the same building as the men, because they didn't want them, because they had to be a male relative in order for them to actually commingle. And so this imam came up with this great idea of a fatwa, and this is real. I don't think they followed it, but this was his suggestion, was that the women allow the men in the office to breastfeed on them, and that would make them male relatives and therefore safe to work with.
I remember that one. I remember when that one came out, and it was... Again, if something like that does not make you go, what the fuck is going on around here?
Yes.
Then you took one too many bricks to the head as a child.
Yeah, I want to bring this on over for Joseph. Since the Muslim community out in France, to the best of my recollection, is quite minimal, this pronouncement, as far as to snowmen and whatnot, I'm assuming that there's negligible anything that's happened over in your neck of the woods for it, coverage-wise, news-wise, or anything, right?
Yeah, no.
All right, that was it. Nice and simple, nice and easy. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
It's like 9%, some quarters of Muslims here. And I'm living 100 meters from the La Grande Mosquée, the big mosque in Paris, and it's pretty huge. So, but no, I don't know what kind of attention it's gotten. It doesn't. Things like that don't make mainstream news here.
So what,
that's for sure.
I was
I was going to say, I was actually with the fatwa system, with the fact that there's no, like, as with Catholicism, you've got the Pope who issues the edicts, and it's all done like centrally. I've just been having a check on Wikipedia, but it seems like just about any imam or anyone with relevant religious experience can issue one of these things in the Muslim world. I would question how much attention that they're even paid, apart from by the followers of the guy who's issued them. I mean, there's all kinds of things like Mickey Mouse and is meant to be evil, and there's people calling for his head. What's it? Emoticons, smileys and whatever, are meant to be depictions of real people. So again, they're out. Women swimming in the sea, because the Arabic word for sea has apparently got a masculine root. So there's an adultery risk there, and all these things. So I don't know how much these are tied to the religion and just how much they are the ravings of individual crazy people. In the
So-
same way that you have ravings of like Pat Robertson or Kent Hovind or Ken Ham in the Western world,
Yeah.
and no one really, not many people take these seriously.
You
Well-
mean like Pastor Manning, for instance?
Oh,
Yeah.
God. You know, on that subject, I just recently hit gold level at Starbucks. Just so you guys know,
Congratulations.
I have at least 2 cups of "fuck you, Manning" every week when I go to my little writers group. I think the big difference, though, now I could be wrong on this because I'm just I'm a shoot from the hip Westerner type person. Okay, there's a lot of crazy people issuing all these fatwas, and people are just kind of looking at them like, I'm sorry, but you are fucking crazy. But unfortunately, don't these guys have kind of like a thug backup that say like, yeah, okay, we follow this guy who said this. If we catch you doing this, we are going to shoot you.
In some places, sure.
Okay, see, that's the big thing that really gets me is that, yeah, these guys are a bunch of wackaloons, to borrow a term, issuing all this shit, but unfortunately they've also got a whole bunch of guys ready to enforce that, by any means possible.
And
Now,
Saudi,
I don't know how much that is.
well, I think Saudi's one of the worst with the religious police and shit over there.
Yeah.
Is that?
You look at shit like that, and you think you've just stepped into an Orwell novel, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Chris, I heard you over there. What you got?
Sorry, I was just laughing. There at what Dallin was saying. It is quite disturbing that some of these people do have people who hang on their every word and are willing to go out and try and enforce this kind of thing. But it's I need to probably speak to someone who's got more direct knowledge of this. But it's strange credulity to think that everyone in the Muslim world is going to suddenly go around beheading snowmen or whatever. That the media is going to make it out to be.
The thing is, I could just walk around my neighborhood. Well, maybe not so much now because we've had such a run of good weather, but I live in a predominantly ethnic neighborhood right now. A lot of people from expats from India, and I know there's some from the Middle East because I see them. I'm pretty sure driving around this neighborhood in the morning, I have seen many snowmen on the front lawns, and they're not beheaded or anything. So, yeah, like I said, I worry that if Pat Robertson had his own goon squad, he would be taking him a lot more seriously, I think. I'm just saying, one of his followers finds out that someone bought a sweater at a rummage sale and didn't exercise it. People are going to be at the door with a couple of baseball bats saying, "You did not follow Pat Robertson's edict."
Yeah.
Now see, there's the problem, and I think that's going to end up being the running theme for tonight. There is just so much weird. I'm not going to go with stupid yet, but there's so much weird with a lot of things that are laid out as you must do this, or you really need to do this, because it'd be a damn shame if anything were to happen to that, wonderful, full Amish beard that you've got growing there, which is, yes, a callback to a news story from a couple of years. No, it was a year and a half or so ago?
About a year.
So, all right, something like that. So, Joe, Joey, I'm gonna hit you again and kind of bring this through a little bit, because you've had experience being out in the Middle East. You've had the opportunity of supping with folks and being with them, and I would assume occasionally needing to look over your shoulder a little bit more often. How? I'm trying to figure out the right way to ask the question. The vast majority of the folks that you were dealing with were religious of some stripe or other. I would assume that the incidence of non-religious was exceedingly low.
Yeah, I don't think I ran into any of them actually. Well, no, there was at least one guy who I met who did admit that he himself was an atheist.
Oh, right, the guy that actually saved your ass from getting beat up, as I recall. Or am I thinking of the wrong story?
You're thinking of the wrong story.
I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Wouldn't be the first. You know what? I'm drinking wine tonight, so fuck y'all. But as
All
far
right,
as yeah,
I have a lot of stories, so it's acceptable
That's
to mix them up.
what I forgot.
what you got drink tonight, Tech? Is that it?
Anyway, Shu, you were saying?
Yeah. As far as to just not. Let's not go with stupid right now as an overall. Just weird. What weird do you remember having seen that it just makes you sit back and just kind of go, okay, I can't see how that could possibly be why you would ever think to do something like that. Don't even go with the whole monkey brain thing, because that's just wrong.
I honestly can't say that I had an encounter of that sort. Most of the people that I dealt with were very. I mean, they were religious, but they weren't out there. I mean, they were devout, but they weren't necessarily, petitioning on the roadside with, God hates fags or anything like that. And they were. I use this term, and really, it's a false term because there's no such thing. But they were about as normal of people as I could imagine. I mean, granted, they didn't have cell phones or television or anything like that, but for people living in the Dark Ages, they were pretty nice people. The ones that I dealt with.
Well, if anybody watches the comedian Gabriel Iglesias, that's Iglesias with an I, also known as Fluffy, when he did one of his specials, he was talking about how he actually went over to, I believe it was Saudi Arabia. And
He went to Riyadh.
Right. And, they explained to him that what he was going to do and what the people were going to participate in was illegal by religious law. And that, don't pay attention to Fox News because Fox News doesn't have it right. And he described his crowd as being, while segregated between, men and women, huge, which means that there is definitely a very large population that they want these religious laws to go bye-bye. That there is definitely a foundation in the young generation to make this shit go away.
It's like I was saying. It's like I've said at pretty much every one of these shows. They are very basic people. I mean, very, very little different from your typical neighbor. It's just the ones who go out of their way to do batshit stuff that happen to be the loudest, and they're the ones that everybody focuses on. And really, the only reason why they're even able to be the loudest is because, unlike here, where we take the batshit people and put them where they can be less batshit,
Politics.
over there, there's less to stand in their way, and there are per capita fewer guns, and the guns are in the hands of the people generally who are the batshit ones. So it's pretty easy to push your way around when you're threatening someone who doesn't have a gun, and you do.
Yeah. All right. This is something that came through in the Q&A, and of course, thank you very kindly for Katie. Thank you very much. Dallin, apparently this one's directed for you. Well, Dallin, you could go through the neighborhood and behead all the snowmen. If there are any snow women, spray paint burqas on them. I'm gonna pitch something else past you, because I don't really want you to get arrested doing the whole Highlander thing all over on the street, up and down. What do you think about the idea?
Dallin carrying a two-handed bastard sword, running through the neighborhood, attacking snowmen willy-nilly, going, that can be all they want!
You killed my father,
Yeah,
so
well,
what about the idea?
Think of this, Tech, consider this. I do have my suit that I've shown the head of it on this show once or twice. I think it was off the air.
Yeah.
I do also have my katana, so this is not in the realm of impossibility. Granted, I'm as blind as shit in that suit, so I'll be swinging pretty wildly, like I'm drunk or something.
Yeah, I've heard.
After you had your latte, right?
Hold on. Let me. All right. First off, that would be a real waste of the blade. So don't do that.
It would rust to shit after that. So I
Exactly.
really
So
don't want to.
here's my suggestion. Get a long ass extension cord. Go to like a home furnishing center and get one of those heat guns that you would use to melt the wallpaper off the wall, and just put a hole right through the head, kind of mafia style. What do you think of that?
Make a move and the snowman gets it.
And instead of spray paint, you just put a garbage bag with a slit over the snow woman.
Oh, there's still a few left over from the old move.
There you go.
I think Joe would agree with me to go big or go home. Instead of getting a heat gun, you get one of those huge round barrels that plugs into a propane tank that they use at construction sites to keep the engines warm. And it just blasts out this gush of hot air like a howitzer. Just take out take them all out in the neighborhood in one blow.
No.
Okay, you guys will do have a point, but there's just one problem, is that I live in Alberta. This is where Mother Nature goes to have her period. In other words, I can have 3 days worth of blizzard at accumulating about 2 feet of snow.
There goes
That's
our female
Monday.
listener base.
Yeah, no, but that's Monday. By Wednesday, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like you get one Chinook blast through here. There is not enough snow, but no, I really wouldn't want to go around mass murdering snow people, because I honestly think it's cool. Like these, you get these fuckwits issuing these, Robertson-esque fatwas against something so trivial.
Innocuous.
So you mean to tell me that I'm the only one who wants to line up like an entire family of snowmen and then fire a watermelon gun at them just to see how many it'll go through?
Okay, look, you want to do that, you go right ahead.
I mean, that's...
As long as they take video of it, right?
Well, I'd be willing to do the same thing. And, I'd be willing to go out and do, the whole crazy katana thing. But I would build the snowman myself first. Because, yes, I have a sword. But in some of the neighborhoods I've lived in, some of these guys got machetes.
Chris,
I have seen them do lawn work with those things, okay?
Just remember, the whole purpose of a fatwa is to control people.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. I'm trying to control you guys. Chris, you were trying to get in.
No, I was still just laughing again. But
Motherfucker.
on what Tech would... Sorry, I'm not to myself and I'm laughing.
Well,
but on
now
what Tech
he
was
does.
saying about the control thing, I don't know, is it about controlling people, or is it some nut job trying to get attention for themselves? Is there like some league of competition, like, who can come up with the most ridiculous shit this week?
I think it's both. I mean, that guy with the breastfeeding thing, did he really think that was practical?
I think he's got a tit fetish, personally.
Probably.
He's got a lactation fetish that he's just trying to mask by issuing a fatwa like that.
Ooh, I can go to work and suck on boobs all day. Woo.
Okay, obviously I'm the
Add that with a $65,000 a year salary, I'd consider it. I'm so glad my fiance's not listening to this, otherwise I'm dead.
Don't worry, there's still YouTube. Ashley, you're being very quiet. You're having a good laugh. Come on, you've got to have something that you want to throw into this. Come on. No, you're not allowed to go flashing.
Although if you do take
I don't
pictures.
mind. Yeah, we don't need pictures. This is recorded video. We can just play it back.
I don't
Super
think she's going to flash on the
slow-mo.
show here, Tech.
Why not? There's a power of 10.
Yes. All right.
Yeah,
How
but
about
I think YouTube still has a little bit of control as to how far you can go.
if they don't, I will. You know what, Ashley?
What if it's man? Can I show mine?
No.
No, Tech, you can't.
No. So let me do this. Let me do this. Ashley, because I know that you are the newest of us all, so to speak. You are you don't have a show of your own yet, to the best of my knowledge, and
No.
don't go plugging it, because I mean I get enough of that shit. I get that from Heretic Woman all the time.
Yeah.
How about this? You've gone through several different organizations through the time. What if we think of these edicts, these fatwas, the kind of the same way that Pat Robertson has come out with his things saying about how you should be giving your money in and not worrying about your health because Jesus is your doctor and whatever the hell. And I mean, the point is so far put out there that maybe this is just for controlling people. Going on to the same idea back and forth, how do you feel about that? I mean, do you think that there's a lot of merit to that, and or yes, no, maybe, I don't know?
Yeah, I think it is for control, but sadly, a lot of them really do believe it. Like, they think they're really doing good, and they really believe, prayer is going to fix everything. But most of it is control. They know it's all bullshit, and they just try to get what they can out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's really the best way of thinking about it. Because if Pat Robertson has taught us anything, oh my God! If nothing else, it's given Frank and Dan over there at name dropping because I want to have them on the show one day. Frank and Dan over there at Thank God I'm Atheist. No end to middle of their show so that they can talk about how nuts he is. By the way, Katie. See you over there, Katie. Went ahead and said, the Calvin and Hobbes cartoons come to mind here. Mwah! Thank you. Exactly what I was thinking of. If you don't know about Calvin and Hobbes, look it up. Calvin, Hobbes, Snowmen. And don't be drinking anything at the time. Dallin can attest, it hurts when stuff that is carbonated goes through nasal cavities.
Yes, it does. Coffee through the nose. Thank you, Noah and Heath, by the way, for last Thursday. Yeah, I just almost shot hot caffeinated stuff out my nose just from laughing too hard. And I do have to say, I know we really went Middle East in terms of idiot factor, but Tech, I blame you for this one, as well as you should for linking me this one. Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about. This whole Ken Ham thing that just popped up again. The Amish Wolverine has turned on the attention whoring once again. And
what is
actually,
it this time?
Okay, he was projecting. I guess there's some kind of a projection estimate of how many people are going to be visiting his museum in the next year.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, wait. Before you go past that,
Yes. He didn't project it.
Well, hold on. Ken Ham, because of the tax incentive that they were looking to get, had to put out there the projections of how many people, what kind of attendance was going to be happening for his place. The tax incentive would have been based on those projections to try to figure out, how much are we going to help you, how much are we going to end up getting back when all is said and done, in order to, make sure that everything is going right. Now pick it up.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because this is delicious.
Yeah. Well, apparently his own group, it was, let me see here.
He went through a third party, but the third party had financial interest in Ken Ham's book.
Yeah, it was done by a company called America's Research Group, really original.
Which is not
also
qualified to do
abbreviates
that kind of study to begin with.
Yeah, it also abbreviates to ARG. It's run by a dude. It's run by a dude by the name of Britt Beamer, who is actually a co-author with Ken Ham on one of his books.
Wow.
So there's absolutely no favoritism or any bullshit like that, right? So, just let me wipe the sarcasm off here a little bit. Okay, back to it. Anyways, this study apparently predicted that Ken Ham's Ark Encounter was going to be opening its gates to an estimated 1.2 million people in that first year.
Now, before we move on, did everybody get that number? That was 1.2 million people.
I was waiting for that.
That's million with an M.
Yes.
Money.
Yeah.
Yes. Funny you should say that.
Yeah.
Continuing.
Anyways, a group that actually does this kind of stuff, the Hunden Strategic Partners, estimated that the port would actually be receiving about 325,000. So just over a quarter of this other group's estimate.
Funny that.
Yeah, so
Kind of reminds me of whenever somebody from Fox News writes a book, they always like to trumpet that it's #1 on the New York Seller's Best list because they actually hire somebody to buy the books to just like pump up the numbers. So I wonder how many people are going to be busting in for that.
Yeah, I've actually shared tweets with the New York Times best-selling author, and he's actually one of the nicest guys I know, and he's not related to Fox News at all. Anyways, so this big discrepancy, Ham is trying to dispute it, and apparently he's a little ticked off about it, understandably so. But the thing that got me, the gist of this whole thing, and I know I step into very dangerous territory when I say this, and it actually does all tie together. 2 words: Louis Farrakhan. You guys know who he is?
Yeah.
I'm not getting the connection at the moment, though.
Okay. The Million Man March.
Oh, okay.
Now, Farrakhan predicted that there were going to be 1 million people marching on Washington for, I can't remember what the cause was, and yeah. But attendance was actually estimated at about 400,000. Still a significant number, given everything. Farrakhan lost his shit over this whole thing. Again, dispute of the numbers. Like I'm seeing a huge parallel here. And for those of you that don't know, Louis Farrakhan at the time, I think he still is the leader of the Nation of Islam, which is an American Islamic group, better known as once led by Malcolm X.
Yep.
He was actually doing, I would say he was doing some pretty good things until he was shot, allegedly by people in his own group.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna make an analogy here because it's something that I think is worth doing at this point. Now I don't think it's the alcohol talking, at least not just yet. This is not going to seem like it makes any kind of sense, but bear with me a couple of seconds. For those of you that are of the younger persuasion, who may not be as versed with the United States and race relations, and admittedly, this is much more an American thing, a North American thing than anybody else. So please forgive us for being a little egocentric over here. It's not intentional. It's just that that's what we know because we're here. Sorry. There was a parallel that was drawn with the X-Men movies, the first one, where Professor X was made analogous to Martin Luther King Jr., who wanted things to work out, for everybody to work together, for there to be peace, understanding, so that everybody is equal, everybody works together. We're different, but we're all here, all in the same boat. Whereas Magneto was made an analog to Malcolm X, peace through any means necessary, which loosely translated to, you're not going to give us the equality that we deserve, we're going to take it by any means necessary. And it sounds weird, it sounds stupid, but this is actually something that was set out in the, I forget if it was the director or the writer or whoever it was, in on the DVD commentary, who said very specifically that was the intentional overtone that was supposed to have been made. So now that the geek shit is over with, so Ken is going ahead and he's yelling and complaining about the numbers, and the guy didn't have a horse in the race. No, they just did it because they were able to do those numbers for us, even though it's not something that company really does.
Why does he give a shit now when he's lost the funding anyway?
See, that's the thing. I think it was a matter of that the secondary research was done after the. I don't know if it was after the fact or like was being done at the same time, and the pressure just kept building and building to remove the tax incentives.
Well, basically, what happened with the whole article is just the fact that what made me chuckle when I put the reason why I posted it made me chuckle was the fact that he's bitching about this underrated amount, and he's saying that regardless of whether it's 1.5 million or half a million, he should have still gotten the funding, completely ignoring the fact that the primary reason he didn't get the tax incentives was because his group decided to discriminate against non-Christian people applying for the job to work on the art project.
As a for-profit corporation.
Exactly. And so since it was a for-profit corporation, and they chose to discriminate based on religion, which is illegal in the United States of America. It's illegal in every state. It's a federal law, okay? Federal laws, for people who don't live in the U.S., there's state laws and federal laws. Federal laws encompass every single state in the United States of America. Laws only apply to that state. Sometimes they'll make laws that work hand-in-hand with laws near adjoining states, but that's besides the point. The point is that they broke a federal law, thereby basically putting up a roadblock to getting that funding. It wasn't the fact that another analysis came out and said, no, you're not going to get nearly that amount of people. He's he's ignoring, like most fundamentalists, he's ignoring the truth.
Miss
Actually, you should go in the opposite. He should go in the opposite direction. He should have the place built by atheist slaves.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, the discrimination was not just against Christians, though. From what I've heard, it was against anyone who is not exactly in Ken Ham's creationist camp.
They had to sign a thing stating that they believed in creation and not in young Earth creation, and they had to sign a declaration of faith and all this shit, and it's like
a questionnaire.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to work for Answers in Genesis, fine. I mean, it's a private corporation.
Right.
Whatever. And
well, that's what
happened. Is the positions they put out were designed. You were hired by Answers in Genesis,
but you were going
to go work on the Ark project,
which is not kosher either.
Yeah, it was a really greasy move, and I'm glad he actually got caught on it. Although, and I think I've heard several other atheist shows talk about this, that they'd actually, and personally me too, I'd like to see this Ark project built.
That may explain the difference in the estimates of the visitor numbers, Dallin. I think Ken Ham might be on with these, you might get 2 million atheist podcasters are going to rip the piss out of the place during the first year.
Oh, no.
Are you kidding? Look,
hilarious.
I would get these retrofitted with Google Glass of some kind, and I would fly to Kentucky to go and see them.
You can't get Google Glass anymore. It's not for sale.
Oh, well.
You can get the whole stuff that they're working on.
Yeah, whatever the next generation thing is.
I have just one word for that. Thank you to the German people for having a language that somehow combines so many different words into one word, so I can go ahead and get this out in one word. Schleimenrufe.
Try to,
Flammenwerfer.
Wait a minute. I don't know about anybody else, but I couldn't hear it. Joey, what was that word? One more time.
Flammenwerfer.
Okay.
You don't need to do that.
Okay, I'm not sure what the translation is on that.
Flamethrower.
Ah, okay. And by the way, before you completely go away for a little bit more, Joey, I would like for you to stay on mute for the time being. I would like for you to see if you can find when construction on the Ark itself actually began. Would you please? And see what kind of numbers you've got so far.
Wait, the project or, like, biblically speaking?
No. The actual Ken Ham's actual Ark. How long has it been in construction up to this point? Because I would love to know so far what we've got. Now, while he's working on that, the alcohol is actually starting to take effect. So if I get a little not paying attention too much, please forgive me. It's my own thing over here. Stephanie. Stephanie had something else over in the Q&A, by the way. Stephanie went ahead. I ordered my latte with extra jizz. Han, thank you, and I'm sure the folks at Cognitive Dissonance greatly appreciate it also. Name dropping.
Remember, Stephanie.
Yeah, I am so. I got to get me a Starbucks mug for this show.
Just remember, Stephanie, if you're ever in Maryland and they don't put enough in there, you call me. I can top it off.
And there goes my second order of brain bleach for the weekend. Long story, folks.
2 minutes to spare. If I jump up and down, I might be able to get it foamy.
Tech, you're not helping.
We're 1 hour into the show, folks. Welcome to WTMI Radio. I hope that you're having yourself a great old time.
Oh boy, oh boy.
So,
What is it?
That's what we should call our show, WTMI.
WTMI. Well, W is okay.
Yeah, you're the radio host. What does
Yes.
the W in front of the things mean?
Okay, it's actually a twofer. In the United States, because of international regulations, broadcast radio and television stations have to start with the prefix of either W if you're east of the Mississippi, or K if you're west of it. In this case, since I'm on the east side, it would be W, because I'm on the east side, and TMI stands for too much information. But in this particular case, I can't use K because W makes it way too much information. So that's what it comes down to. Yes, I'm the tech nerd. I'm the radio nerd. Yes, I have an FCC license. Whatever. Just leave it alone.
And despite all the crap on the show, we have now learned something actually relevant to the world around us.
And actually, wasn't
holy shit?
Yeah, I seem to recall this from a while back. We were looking for a WTMI jingle because there actually used to be a WTMI radio station.
Yes, it was
WTMI, where the nuts jingle.
Well, that's just it. The plan was, as I recall at the time, we were going to take that jingle, and we were going to do the apologist thing and blow it way the fuck out of context.
Absolutely, and as I recall, at back in the day when it was available, when it was online. Last I know, I don't believe WTMI exists as a call letter, but at the time,
WTMI, where are people like our father clock.
WTMI, where you go for what you don't want to know.
That's even better.
Not be unheard.
So the typical radio jingle would have been something along the lines of having a chorus behind you. WTMI, Key West. That would have been the industrial sound kind of thing. I would love to be able to do something like that one day. And yes, I know. You can order it from different groups who will put it together for you, but that's like money. And I don't know.
I just checked this. WTMI FM 88.7 licensed to Fleming, New York, United States.
Whoa, where?
That's Fleming, New York.
Yeah, Fleming. Great. Now I got Ahmed the Dead Terrorist in my head.
A-C-Flem.
Yeah, so Fleming, New York.
Alrighty.
Okay,
I don't
so
think I can get a cat
Goes
to have
back.
you.
Joey, what did you
8
find?
o'clock.
According to my sources thus far,
And of course, these are super secret forces.
sources.
Forces, sources, whatever. It doesn't matter.
According to these, construction was announced to have begun December 2010. We all know that didn't happen. It was again pushed to May 2011, and then got pushed again. And according to their own website, they have said to finally begin laying concrete for the construction towers that will be used to build this thing on December 1st of last year.
See, I have a problem with this. If a 600-year-old man can do it in a very brief period of time, all by himself, with no external funding, what the hell does Ken Ham need a tax break for?
He doesn't have the rock giants to help him on this. Didn't you
Yes,
learn anything
didn't you
from
see
that
the movie?
documentary?
No, I didn't see
I
the
saw
movie.
the
I
movie.
actually had better things to do with my time, like
and
watch
to be fair-
John Wick.
What's that?
Yeah, and there was sons helped. He had a couple of lads. You know,
Okay.
they were probably only 300 years old to help him out.
I'm looking at some of the I'm looking at some of the pictures they have posted.
The first thing they built was a wheelchair ramp.
Picture posted.
Wait a minute, hold on. If no one had a couple sons to help him out, can't we find somebody in the Quiverful movement to donate?
The Duggars, come on.
Oh, there they go. They got like, what, 9,
right.
10 kids? Come on, he could do it in half the time.
All right, hold on. Joey, do it.
Okay. Picture posted by Ken Ham himself on his Facebook.
Oh, tell me he
January
took a
6th.
selfie. Tell me he took a
Hold on,
selfie
hold
with a
on.
friggin' slab of concrete. Tell me that.
No. They do have those, but picture taken on January 16th, 2015 showing the initial stages of his Ark Encounter project in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
The
I don't know about you, but you take a look. Now, I'm not going to try to screen share because we know that never fucking works for me anymore.
Yeah, you know what? You do
I'm just
that.
going to
and-
post. I'm going to post the link into the group chat
Oh,
and
jeez.
let you look yourself and tell me what is initial about the stages that you're seeing here, because I'm finding a hard time finding any stages.
Looks like he's got some kind of markers, or maybe those are just hay bales out in the distance there.
I'm seeing a lot of dirt.
Yeah. But, okay, back to my original thing, because I know, like with everything around here, we do so many circular orbits, or elliptical as the case may be. I, for one, I'm echoing a few of the other atheist podcasts out there that say, I'd like to see this thing done. I would actually like to see this Ark thing completed, if for no other reason than to finally drive home the fact that you cannot fit 2 of every single fucking animal on the planet Earth inside a fucking boat.
Exactly.
It's magic.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Unless
this thing is a fucking TARDIS, you ain't gonna sell me on it.
I am a bit of a. One second. I just want to say this.
It's blue.
I am a bit of a DIY nutcase. I love watching DIY stuff. I find tons of it on YouTube. I had once found a video series that a fairly aged gentleman had put up, where he is literally building from scratch his own wooden yacht.
Okay.
Now, it's no 500-foot arc, but this gentleman, by himself, with his own two hands and the tools at his disposal, has gotten the framework. I can talk tonight. The framework and the siding of the hull on this craft completed in about a year and a half, while working by himself on a budget and taking the time to videotape it.
Yep.
Okay, and for the just for the heck of it, I decided to use Google Earth on my cell phone.
That's a crap ton of dirt.
I found a nice big area. That's I actually looked up Ark Encounter, 2 words. Yes, I can spell. And I see a big area that's been dug out, I guess, is the best way to put it. Those of you that are familiar with Minecraft probably recognize that kind of dig. But it looks very bereft of
anything.
Bereft of Ark?
It is. You know what?
Needs just a little more Ark.
Hold on a second. Let me do this. Chris, I'm going to pull you in on this one. Because England, as we know full well, over time, England was one of the largest, immense fleets on the water. At one time, England dominated everything that had to do with the water, until, of course, Germany decided to come along and just say, well, here's your stuff. All right, but that's all the thing. We'll talk about the Lusitania later. What kind of experience do you know about for maritime, for boats? Have you seen any large boats? Do you know how big this thing would be as compared to, say, I don't know, the Royal Canadian Navy?
What, for the Ark, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm originally from sort of southwest England, and Plymouth was sort of the one of the major historic dockyards for building all the timber ships.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anything much about ship construction myself, but I do recall from I believe it was the Bill Nye debate, where some engineers had modelled the Ark, and it was about twice as big, 2 to 3 times as big as the largest sailing vessel ever built. And the problem was, for that vessel, that the timber is just not strong enough for building material, and it would flex and twist, and where it flexed would create gaps and the water would come in. So there's an actual physical limit on how big you can build a wooden boat. And this is ridiculous. Ridiculously beyond that.
But it would take, the boat would be like 60% structure, and there'd be no room for the animal.
Yeah.
Could you imagine 40 days of animal shit on a boat? Like, I grew up on a farm, and, we used to clean out the stalls on a weekly basis. Like, 40 days in a fucking boat with every animal known to man, really?
I guess you weren't keeping elephants there either.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
Yeah, Deborah, you have 5 cats. That's bad enough.
Yeah.
Unrenowned tech, I see you over there.
I have a kind of a different approach. I don't just steep my life in science and math. I also enjoy the fantasy of science fiction, because we have turned so much science fiction and science fact. Not all of it, but plenty enough of it to know that there are definitely things that we can imagine and make it possible. So back when I was actually in my teens, I came across a book called The Spaceships of Ezekiel. Now, if nobody's ever read this before, I'm pretty much going to be the only person who understands it. The Spaceships of Ezekiel was written by Josef Blumrich, if I'm saying the name correctly. And he originally heard that somebody came up with the idea that if you interpret the teachings of Ezekiel, they talk about a UFO. if you take the science approach to the descriptions in the book, they're actually talking about a UFO, not a chariot, not a godlike being, yada, yada, yada. That there's an actual scientific explanation behind the story. And so he went out trying to disprove that. Well, after studying it for a long, long period of time, he actually ended up agreeing, and he actually ended up designing sketches based on the descriptions and came up with a very theoretically, scientifically sound concept and reasoning behind the designs and shapes described in the book of Ezekiel. For example, one of the things that came up in the book of Ezekiel was the concept of the omni-wheel. The omni-wheel concept didn't come out until 1912. So we're talking about a book that was written well before that, describing the concept of an omni-wheel, a wheel that goes not only forward and backwards but side to side. We currently use that in our robotics technology in the world around us, so it does happen. In fact, in 2012, a guy developed a Lego Mindstorm wheelchair using the omni-wheel concept as a prototype for a real wheelchair for people to get around it. That aside, if you take the approach that maybe the Bible was written, that some of the stories in it were, assuming for a moment that aliens are real, so a presupposition here, that aliens are real. Another presupposition is that aliens have visited Earth many times, and that they didn't know how to interpret this. That the concept of Noah's Ark was actually a ship, maybe holographically disguised, so as not to scare anybody, and was actually not taking animals on board, but maybe as an animal entered, it was either deconstructed or a genetic sample was taken from it, and then it was removed from the ship, leaving only the genetic sample aside. If there is any scientific soundness, which is all presupposition at this point, a ship that big could, in theory, even with today's cryogenic technology, carry a sample of all the species of Earth, at least all the important ones to repopulate. But that's making an assumption based on a presupposition. It's an interesting idea. It's a wonderful thought experiment, but we have no proof.
Joey.
Okay. Going a little bit back to where we were discussing the Ark, structurally speaking. Nye had made many good points. Being, from a family of shipbuilders, he would know a little bit about this, and being, an engineer. But if you're looking for size comparison, currently, your typical Iowa-class battleship comes in at about a length of 860 feet. Now, the largest wooden vessel ever constructed was the Wyoming. It was a 6-masted schooner that was built in 1909. And one of the biggest problems it had was because it was so long, the planks would twist and buckle, allowing seawater into the hold. It had to use pumps in order to stay afloat. It had to use pumps to stay afloat. So unless Noah had a whole lot of folks in the bottom with buckets, this would not work. And the damn thing eventually, it did sail with the pumps, but it sank. After just short of 15 years, it foundered.
Yeah.
And all 14 crew members were lost.
Okay, now before you get past that, how long did you say this thing was in feet?
The Wyoming itself was 450 feet overall.
Okay. Now the reason why I'm bringing that one up is because I'm doing the conversion right here really quickly.
Wait. Real quick.
Yes.
Just to be clear, that was its overall length. If we're talking just deck length, because it's got one of those beams on the front and all that stuff. If we're just talking deck length, it was only 350 feet long.
Okay. Well, we're gonna take the 450 foot mark because let's just be
We're
generous.
being generous.
Sure. That comes out to a little over 137 meters. There's a reason why I'm using meters, because that's what I've got to work with right now on the screen for myself. 137 meters, and this thing needed pumps to continue. And according to Wikipedia, which I know is not completely authoritative, but you know what, it's a quick place, and I'm too buzzed otherwise. And by the way, New York State Troopers, please don't pull me over for being buzzed right now. Please don't do that on the info superhighway. According to this, if you go by the Egyptian royal cubit of 529 millimeters, just let it go. Just go with it. That means that the boat would be 158.5 meters long.
What's that in feet?
A little over 500.
Yeah.
So nowhere near as big as the schooner, then.
Wait, no. Wait a minute.
A little less than 500. I thought a meter was
a little
about
bit bigger.
43 feet.
It would be a little bit bigger. It would come out to 518 and change. So that means that if you go by physics as we understand it on the water, you need at least a big ass. Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. There's something that can work here. All right, now follow me on this. You're going to need pumps to get the water out, right? Okay. You've got all this dung that's being produced, right? Okay. You got all this water on the outside because it's a boat. I mean, duh. How about this?
Diarrhea?
Wait. No. Oh, don't. You're hurting me here. Okay, look at this. Wait. If they took the dung and they piled it and they burned it, they could then drive a steam engine, which would then drive an alternator, which would then drive the pump, which would have its own electricity. Oh, right.
Yeah.
And you would all suffocate in the fumes because there was only one little tiny window.
Yeah.
They
The boat had a smokestack.
They got all that shit they could make a waddle and daub, maybe, but that's not going to hold up.
Now,
Here's the thing. I've actually heard apologists say that the reason why Noah's Ark could hold all those animals and why it could not sink, despite being built by a 600-year-old man and a couple sons who were 100 years old each, was because God made it so.
I thought you were going to say it was a TARDIS.
Sure.
Yeah, that's my theory. Like, I still maintain that perhaps the Ark was, painted blue.
Could have been.
I have a picture of that on my Facebook wall.
Hold one moment, because I do have something that is of ask relevance here. Mm-hmm. How much did you say he has taken in for this vessel?
Wait, what are you talking about?
How much money has he taken in for this vessel?
We didn't mention that.
Well, the Hammeister?
Yeah, I don't think that we've got the number.
He didn't get a particular tax funding that he was looking for.
He was looking to get $18 million in tax breaks.
Okay. Now, this vessel that we were discussing, the Wyoming, is roughly a little smaller, but roughly the same size as what he's looking to build. Yes? It is a wooden ship of approximately 500 feet.
Okay.
When this vessel was built in 1909, it cost $175,000 to build. Adjusting for inflation, in 2014, that would be equivalent to about $4.5 million.
Okay.
Oh, don't forget, he's got to pay all the bribes.
Yes, Chris.
On that, you're obviously not taking into account modern logistics and assembly techniques, which would probably make it even cheaper.
Now,
but at the same time, you're also not taking into account the inflation on the cost of materials and the zoning laws and all the other stuff that he'd have to pay too.
Yeah.
So he probably only needs half of what he's looking for.
Yeah. But then you also got to think about.
I mean, he is, to be fair to the guy, which is something I really hate to find myself doing. He's also building other touristy like stuff, the parking lots, the restaurants, whatever else. So be fair on that. I was going to cut in with a couple of other like silly things.
No.
I find the Ark's quite a good source if you're looking like to do a bit of maths and play around with something completely ludicrous. I just did a check on
Ludicrous speed.
on beetles. There's about estimated to be about 1 million species of beetles on there. So if you were to put all these on the Ark and you were to check on each type of beetle once a day, you'd be checking on about 12 beetles a second.
Yeah.
Which gives you an image which is, I don't know if anyone's seen the one of the Star Trek Next Generation episodes where you've got Data, the android, reassembling all the computer chips.
Yeah.
So fast is like you can't even see him moving.
The
I've
naked
just got this vision of like some old, like 600-year-old guy there.
the Beatles. Woo!
You know what? Skip all that shit about the Ark. You know what? If you skip all the stuff about the Ark, okay, forget all that stuff about the Ark, and you pay attention to the story, and you focus on just the rain alone. 40 days and 40 nights of rain, right?
The hell does
Correct me
it?
if I'm wrong here. Am I right? 40 days and 40 nights?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
the story.
We're talking about massive desalinization of the water. We're talking about mass extinctions of fish, okay, and other aquatic life forms. We're talking about a balance that is so delicate when it comes to the salinization of the water that you would definitely kill the majority of all ocean life with that kind of flooding.
Yep.
Oh,
And
obviously,
supposedly didn't happen.
I'm not so sure about those numbers.
If God can suddenly produce enough water to cover Mount Everest, out of nowhere, I'm sure he can come up with a bit of salt as well. So
I like Katie there and
Solomon's wife?
yeah. I mean,
you mean Lot's wife?
River, right?
Yeah.
He can turn stuff into salt, no problem.
Yeah,
Katie's got a good one. Katie's got a good one. She says, biblical scholars have been looking for the gopher wood Noah used for centuries. It was a total misinterpretation. Noah called up to his sons and said, God said we got to build a boat. Y'all go for some wood.
Which means that Noah is actually a direct ancestor of Cash from Atheists on Air.
I think so,
Well,
yeah.
when you think
Explains
about
everything right
it, you know, the one that gets me is that one of Noah's sons was named Ham.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's just not totally
Which
kosher.
just makes you wonder, is he trying to trace some kind of ancestry here? Like, did Ancestry.org put him in that position?
Oh my God! If the Mormons got a hold of his bloodline, Joey, yes,
Joe, what do you got
Okay.
for us, buddy?
Another bit of numerical head scratching here. The Wyoming was a freighter, or was essentially a freight ship. It was a schooner. It was designed to haul freight.
It was a big piece of wood.
Yes, it could hold a maximum cargo of 6,000 long tons.
What's a long ton? Because I know what a regular ton is. That's
Imperial
2,000
ton.
pounds.
Imperial ton, which is just a little bit. What you're referring to is a short ton, which is 2,000 pounds.
Right, and that's what we're using construction.
Long ton is another name for the imperial ton, which works out to about 2,200 some pounds. Not a whole lot of difference.
So not even close to the fuck ton that it would have to use to actually hold all the animals, is what you're saying.
This is what I'm saying.
Nicely done, sir. Nicely done, sir.
So, what was the Wyoming's capacity again, Joe?
6,000 long tons.
Okay, who's got the soundboard?
I'm
'Cause that's
sorry.
just fantastic.
I'm sorry, I gotta do this because Tom and Cecil would otherwise be completely disown me. Otherwise, a long tongue, a long tongue, a long tongue.
I thought he said tongue as well.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. So right there would have to become a long black tongue.
Yes,
Here's
along
something
black
that's perplexing. Noah could talk directly to if God could talk directly to Noah to give him the instructions on how to build an unsinkable ark of that dimension that could somehow magically hold all those animals. Why the fuck did he need a bird to figure out where dry land was?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
I mean,
assume that the logistics of everything else is immaterial. He has a direct connection, a direct line to Yahweh, him or herself, and itself. And for some reason, God clams up as like, oh, I ain't gonna tell you where to land. Fuck you. Excuse me, I thought you were supposed to be a provider. Why do we need a bird?
Excuse me? Excuse me? What does God need with a water ship? I just
The nerd is strong with this one.
Actually, guys, if you're there's a great video series out there. Like him or hate him, but it was done by a gentleman by the name of Thunderfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Why People Laugh at Creationists.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, seen that.
I'm hoping some of you have seen this. And he talks
40 episodes, yes.
Yeah,
he completely dismantles.
This guy completely dismantles a lot of the creationist stuff, and some of the video footage he's got, like from Kent Hovind. Oh my God, my frickin' nose was bleeding. Actually, nose, ears, and eyes were all bleeding, just from some of the claims this guy was making. Like, there's actually an ocean of water underneath the Earth's crust, and that's where the extra water for the flood came from.
That's what that Sparrow dumbass said that came to speak here.
Yeah, and then
exactly what he said.
Yeah, and then of course you look at the movie. You look at the movie Noah, and I mean they kind of did the same thing. I mean, there's the rain coming down, and all of a sudden, boom! Like it's Old Faithful all around the ark. All of a sudden, it's like, wait, what? So yeah, so Aronofsky went to the Kent Hovind School of Why the Earth Flooded.
And specifically why there are watermarks on the moon.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Do I also remember was it from Thunderfoot's a claim that all this water was sort of floating around in a big ball around the Earth in orbit?
Oh, there was the big ball. There was the giant comet that melted and then rained down. Then there was actually a claim about that the firmament thing was real, and that we are still a flat, square piece of Earth underneath a dome that's protecting us from the great cosmic ocean out there.
What do you got for us, Joe?
Like, where the hell's my weed when I'm watching this shit, man?
We've been ragging on this damn boat all damn night. You know
And
what?
rightly so.
I'm gonna have to do it.
Oh, crap.
Show of hands, all of you Commonwealth folk out there.
Sorry, what?
Show of hands, all you Commonwealth folk out there. Come
I'm
on,
showing
take
hands, even though my
responsibility.
webcam's not up.
What?
You want to rag on this boat? I charge you with explaining this one to me. The Habakkuk.
What the fuck is that?
The Habakkuk is a boat that had been... It was an idea come up with by Admiral Pike of the British Royal Fleet.
Ice boat?
Who had come up with the idea of building an aircraft carrier of ice.
Oh, God, I read about this one.
Wait a minute.
Great till they got into warm water.
No. Wait a minute. Here's the thing. They actually built. Now it wasn't true ice. It's what we call, or it's what they began to call Pikecrete, which involves wood pulp, and it greatly raises the melting temperature of it and the structural integrity. But essentially, they did actually build some test vessels out of this material, and it worked.
Yep,
They
as
did
a matter
it.
of fact,
They
the
did it
Mythbusters did it.
Mythbusters, I was gonna say they did it.
They would have had a better time just cutting off a frickin' iceberg.
That was what actually led to that. That's what actually led to the idea of that Habakkuk. They had the idea of cutting loose an iceberg, trimming off the top and building an airstrip on it.
There you go. Oh, by the way,
But it wasn't feasible.
okay. By the way, before we go too far, I need to double check. As I recall, Chris, you guys over in the UK, you do get a version of the MythBusters out that way, correct?
I'm not aware of a local version. I do seem to recall something.
Brainiac? Brainiac was in the UK, and that one was
something, but yeah, we or through cable or whatever, we can get the real MythBusters.
Okay, and Joseph, I don't recall if there is an outlet or if you guys know about MythBusters in France specifically at this point, as opposed to just looking online for it and knowing that way. I know you don't have a TV currently.
They do have shows like that, though.
Okay.
There's a show. It's called C'est pas sorcier, which is kind of cool. C'est pas sorcier, which means it's not magic, and well, it's more. They talk about stuff like this, but it's for explaining science to kids. It's pretty cool. So.
That is okay. That is a really cool name for a show like that. That is a wonderful name. I love
Actually,
that.
if you want to, if anybody here listens to the Star Talk Radio podcast, which is with Neil deGrasse Tyson, he actually had the two hosts of MythBusters on talking about how the show got started, how they got involved, the genesis of the show, and everything else. So that's a quick way to get introduced to it without even having to watch a single episode.
Yeah, very much so. All right. There's a couple of things that have come up on the Q&A side that I want to hit because some of these are great, and I'm trying really hard to read what's going on in the Q&A, listen to what you guys are saying, and make sure that I don't have you guys, with too much rope that you hang
We should
anybody.
get Stephanie in here. She says things too.
That is my intention. Don't tell her. I am planning on asking her to come sometime. Don't let her know. I mean, she does enough shit as it is. I don't want to add more and give her big freaking swelled head. I mean, don't let her know that I'm talking. Anyway, Katie had a thing over here. With one tiny window, they would have died of methane poisoning anyway. That is proper.
Methane.
Chris, that is the proper pronunciation, is it not? Methane?
That's how I would pronounce it, yes.
Exactly, okay. So I'm just kind of wondering if they had fire at the time. You know what? I think we can have the MythBusters cover that one sometime.
You know what?
MythBusters have covered methane explosions.
I was just going to say...
episodes, because it's kind of gassy you get in cookers and whatever, and you need fairly specific conditions for it to burn.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking away from my fun, Joey. Yeah, what?
You know what? You say you pronounce it correctly. You pronounce it aluminium. There's no second I in it.
Whatever.
Aluminium.
Anyway,
Actually, going back
There
to
it is. There is the way I spell it.
Going back to the methane or methane, depending on what side of the pond you're on. Wasn't there an old thing about ship high in transit
yes.
when it came to fertilizer?
Yes.
Yeah, so another thing Katie said was that one horse puts out an average of 11 pounds of manure a day. So given all that, that boat after 3 days would have exploded.
Yep.
It would have been very, very messy.
And that's just two horses. They had elephants and fucking hippos.
Okay, guys, it's 3 words. Mary Poppins bag.
There you go. You win the internet.
Which doesn't work because the Catholic Church would have just burned her for witchcraft anyway.
Because she was obviously lighter than a duck if she could float off the ball.
No. She wasn't lighter than a duck. She weighed the same as a duck.
As a duck.
Remember, the scales must be balanced.
And she turned Ham into a newt. but he got
Oh,
better.
He got better.
It got better.
I apologize to my friends over the pond there for my really shitty accent.
It's
I love
you
these power
doing
attention.
cute.
If Jake Farwarden had been in onto the show tonight, I was actually going to try my hand at a Ken Ham accent.
Oh,
I would have failed miserably. Oh, well, yeah, you guys were here when I tried to do my Pastor Manning thing, which is probably why my throat is still fucked up right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, so let's see what other items were in the Q&A. By the way, oh yes. By the way,
Stephanie's fuck ton joke.
yeah. Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, Stephanie. Well, not really, because, yeah.
somebody
No,
did.
actually, no, you're right. Stephanie, I do apologize. What I should have said was metric fuck ton since I'm in Canada.
Yeah.
Yes, which makes perfect sense. And
By the way,
it could
did
have
you
been
know that a fuck ton is or a buttload is an actual unit of measurement?
No, I did not know that.
Okay, so
There's
we
a
now have
specific
2 items
number
that we've actually learned.
associated with the phrase buttload.
Could have been.
I don't know what that number is, but I remember reading about it, and the details kind of at this point I've had too much vodka.
Okay.
We need to have like our own personal, like our holy crap, the more you know banner, so that we can just post that up whenever we do something.
Say about that. Joey, you get right on that, dude.
Yeah.
I think a buttload is just a unit that measures full, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you got to wonder whose butt is the base, because if it's Kardashian's butt, then you've got a problem.
This is true.
We need another universe.
You know, that shit pissed me off. We literally the general public tore this shit out of a scientist for wearing a shirt that depicted women in a position of power and declared him to be a sexist pig. And yet we have Kim Kardashian bearing all, and the same people going, "Yay, bravo, bravo!" You know, like, go fuck yourselves. You fucking two-faced bitch bastards. I'm sorry, but you know what? Either treat them all equally or shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I have some friends who are on both sides of that argument with the whole shirt thing. And
it wasn't what I would have worn for professionalism, but you know what? The guy wasn't there for what his attire was. He was there for his damn brain.
yeah, further to the point, was this not the guy that just baseballed a washing machine onto a comet?
Yes.
Okay.
And a woman made this shirt for him.
I know.
Give it a-
I thought it was fucking stupid too.
Okay.
you
Before we
know what my bitch was about him on the air? Is that he had his tattoos showing. Because my personal opinion is that when you're at work, regardless of what your work is, but your work brings you into the public viewpoint, your tattoos should be covered at that point. If you're on your own clock, you know, if you're off the clock and you're on your own time, you display them as proudly as you like. Because I happen to like tattoos. They're interesting. They show, you know, a unique mindset depending on what person gets for each different person. You know. But the point is that when you're at work, that's not the time to show them off.
Well, see,
Other than that, I didn't have anything wrong with the guy. When I saw the shirt, I was like, oh, well, you know, he appreciates women. I do too.
See, I want us to get away. I want us to get away from the idea that you need to look a certain way to do a job. I think that's antiquated, and I think we need to start accepting people to look as they wish to look, no matter what they're doing.
Okay.
That's
Unfortunately, I'd say we're still another 1 to 2 generations away from that happening, because my now ex-wife used to work in grocery retail, and some of the cashiers would start with some facial piercings. I don't mean just the little thingy on the nose, but like, you know, the lips, the eyebrows, and everything. And there was actually a really big stink from some of the older and more conservative patrons of the store.
Mm-hmm.
No. All I'm saying, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what she told me.
Oh, I know.
On those
And
nights.
I think those people need to get over it, personally. But
No,
like I said, you know, when you're in a position that you're in the public eye and you're on clock, my personal opinion is it's not time to start displaying your your uniqueness at that point. You can do that with your the words that you say, your mind, your what you're known for in your mind, and your actions. Okay, when you're off the clock, do all that stuff. I've seen people with piercings left, right, and everything else, and off the clock, and I don't care. That's their own bodies. They can do whatever they want with their own bodies.
Hold it a second. Chris has been very patient. He's been trying to get in a couple of times, and I want to end up getting this closed out.
There, he's laughing his ass off again.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say I've actually met the Shirtstorm guy.
Oh, cool.
I met him at the ESA, European Space Agency Open Day in the Netherlands back in, I think it was early October. And basically he gets tattoos done for to commemorate every mission that he's been involved in. So he's got full arms and legs and whatever done, and yeah, he was wearing a similar shirt there while he was giving the presentations to the kids and whatever on the Rosetta mission and the comets, and didn't see any objections there. And I think, yeah, we have got this historical prejudice that people should look a certain way when being, in a sort of public-facing position or whatever, with piercings and tattoos. And I don't see actually that it has any impact at all on how you do your job.
I agree.
I will admit that I have an old-fashioned mindset.
People will get used to this kind of thing very, very rapidly. If you think about the difference between way people dress on the high street and the way people dress on the beach, it's all a matter of sort of social context, and people can get used to sort of piercings or different hairstyles or tattoos, whatever. I don't see any reason why people should be discriminated against for having these.
I get where you're coming
from faith or whatever.
I get where you're coming from, Tech. I just think that attitude needs to change.
Okay, now before we get too far into this guy, Joseph or Ashley, did either one of you want to chime in on that before I get us into the very last closings at this point?
No.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, then really quickly, because we're coming up on time, and I actually am feeling a little bit. I'll tell you about the dinner that I ended up making in a little bit when we're off the air.
Yeah, too much alcohol.
A little bit so, apparently, for tonight. Normally, this would not be enough to do it because Dowlin's had the opportunity of trying it out. Joe's had the opportunity of trying it out. It's not really super powerful stuff, but it's the kind of stuff where you just want to suck it down because it's so
insidious.
It's so bad. I'll talk about it a little bit later. As a matter of fact, I'll plug the company later, but that another night, maybe next week. Really quickly, I want to hit everybody to really quickly hit on this because we mentioned about this last week. SpaceX tried to power land their booster from the Falcon rocket. They tried to power land it on a floating platform out in the water. They had a problem with hydraulics. It crashed. They lost it. And this is otherwise the most expensive part of the rocket. So the opportunity of capturing this guy again safely to be able to just bring it back home, fuel it back up, check it out, not necessarily in that order, and then send it back up again is a wonderful possibility. They said that they are going to try to get this puppy back up and running again with another launch with a different base, probably very, very soon, probably within the next month or so. So I want to drop this to you guys because this is kind of a little bit complex, and I'll just go one after the other to get us through with this one. Right now, SpaceX is the odds-on favor for becoming the de facto private space agency servicing low orbit. Seeing what they've been doing, what do you think the likelihood is of their continued success for the upcoming year? Yeah, it's kind of a New Year's prediction kind of thing, and I'll admit it, I really didn't think it well out for myself. But I want to know what you guys think about how cool this is, what you think that they're going to be able to accomplish in the next year. Granted, these things have to take time to play out. And are they going to? Do you think that they'll be successful on the next landing for whatever the next launch is in the next month or two, whatever it is? Joseph, I'm sorry, Joey. Let me hit you first. I'm actually going to go up through the cameras. So start here with you, Joey.
I honestly haven't followed it, so, but knowing what I know of SpaceX, I'm very okay. People were having the big stink on the whole, oh no, NASA's going private. I can't think of anything better to happen. Because, on one hand, you have stuff built to the lowest bidder for the government. Believe me, I've dealt with plenty of government issue items and seen just how the quality is. And then you have private companies who are strongly invested in this, who need this to work, and so they will go through every friggin' mile that they can to make sure it works.
I can't wait to see it myself. Joseph, what do you think of them?
Of the program?
Yes.
Well, it's great that they came up with something after the space shuttle. My question about this is, I wonder how long this has been in the works, because I find it kind of surprising that they ended the space shuttle program without having a next stage in mind, and I wonder if this was it. I'd like to know more about it anyway.
That's fair enough. It would be interesting to know the ins and outs between the public and the private side to see who knew what. All right, Tech?
I'm interested to see what comes from it. I read the articles and everything else, and I will cheer for any company that tries to honestly and ethically forward, what's the word I'm looking for? Not encourage, but continue to strive to make progress towards getting the human race into space effectively and efficiently, as well as to get towards mining asteroids, getting colonies on the moon, getting us to explore the other planets within our solar system, and to even getting outside of our solar system. So anytime I hear about that, and they're going about it my opinion is considered to be the right way, that is that they're not trying to cut corners, that they're trying to use the science that's available, that they're not trying to just pad their resume, then I applaud them. I really do.
Just one question.
Yes, Joseph.
About was the question about the private versus government aspect of the program?
Right. About SpaceX.
Okay, I'm sorry, I totally missed that. I do have something to say. I think if you're underfunding NASA, yeah, you're going to get bad quality and cutting corners and things like that. I mean, I think NASA's got his ass between two chairs at the time, because they just don't have all the resources. I mean, if they had all the resources they need, I mean, they would have the best brains in the country. But since they don't, people are going towards the private sector. So that's where the technology, that's where they're going to for the hiring.
And don't forget, there's a lot of cases where people attribute something to NASA, And what it was NASA actually requesting of private companies saying, listen, we're trying to solve this problem, and we're looking to you guys for possible solutions. Here's the data on this problem. Here's what we've tried. Here's what we haven't tried. Here's what we've thought up, and the sky's the limit, and here's maybe our budget for developing this solution. What do you guys have? NASA is not a stranger to outsourcing problems and solutions. They really aren't. NASA is a fantastic resource when it comes to data and knowledge and thinking outside the box. So NASA's not, even if SpaceX is creating these new boosters and these new platforms and everything else, I pretty much find it a very comfortable thought to think that NASA has had some influence on SpaceX various projects or programs, even if it's just something as simple as saying, hey, here's all the data on the boosters that we've used in the past. Here's all the data, or here's all our goals. Here's all our thoughts. They're not stingy when it comes to sharing their thoughts. And that's what made NASA so successful for so long.
It's open source in a way.
To a certain degree. As a matter of fact, I'm actually gonna be using that for my closing. As a matter of fact, in a sort of roundabout way. Heretic Woman, how are you thinking? How are you liking?
Well, I think it's pretty exciting. I would love for them to offer a fundamental creationist free ride to the moon at some point. That would be cool. Send, Ken and send all those guys, free trip to the moon and kind of.
Wait.
Well,
No,
they need a
don't
change of atmosphere.
Stop. Let her finish.
Round trip ticket. I'll join Answers in Genesis for that one.
Okay. Well, no, I was talking about more like they think it's a round trip ticket, but
But they'll just be going to a Hollywood studio.
Oh, right, that's all the conspiracy.
No.
By the way, there's a fatwa out about going to Mars because basically they're saying it's a suicide mission.
Oh.
However, come on.
Don't you get 72 really extra hot virgins then if you die on Mars?
What, little green
suicide bombers are okay,
Star Trek.
suicide missions.
We'll see.
But no, I think that would be fun, You send Ken Ham and Ray Comfort and Kirk Cameron and, offer them a free trip to the moon and kind of like, oh, did we have passengers to bring back? Oh, I'm sorry.
I want that trip to be videotaped.
Yes.
Ken Ham and Ray Comfort in a space shuttle for like how long does the trip take? Like 8 months?
No, it's 3 days.
Yeah. 3 days. Yeah. Build them a nice little pod,
Dallin, how about you? How are you liking? What are you seeing for SpaceX?
I came across something a while back about there was a kind of a difference of opinion as to the mission to Mars, and Elon Musk had come up with a thought-out plan that would put not just put people on Mars, but would actually have a colony set up inside of the next, I think it was like 50 years or something, at a fraction of the cost of NASA that was planning to build a an orbiting manufacturing platform to build ships to go to places like Mars. What I like...
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that this Mars thing I'm kind of questioning, because I think when we have the technology to do that, I think instead of going to Mars, because that involves a lot of terraforming, I think we're going to be going straight on to other planets.
Well,
like habitable already, like planets similar to Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, they need to send a presuppositionalist crew as well.
Hey,
Okay,
James Slides and Bruggen, Kate.
Yes.
I do have to interrupt here for just a moment.
Uh-huh.
With that in mind, go watch the movie Sunshine.
Oh yeah. Great
And
movie.
yeah, you quickly see that's not going to turn out so well.
Okay.
We'll see what
No,
happens.
I like where I like the fact that SpaceX is kind of doing their own thing. They're coming up with very well engineered and manufactured vehicles. I mean, you've got the Dragon capsule that's been basically saving the ISS's butt for the past little while. The new rockets they're coming up with, and you know what their plans are for the future. Yeah, I'm all for. Well, actually, I'm all for any company willing to stretch us out past this planet.
But does it have to be a company? Because
Well, for
that's
now,
that's where the brains are going, because that's where the money is. But
Yeah.
like as a taxpayer, damn, if I was, I'd love it if part of my taxes
you're
went
right.
to space.
Again,
I would love the sort of the Star Trek philosophy, you know, the cultural philosophy of this is just a stepping stone. But right now, in 2015, I got that right.
Death is but a doorway. I'll be back.
Yeah, but right now in 2015, the only way we can sort of see that philosophy begin to evolve is through the use of a company like SpaceX or even Virgin Galactic. Right now, it's a corporate thing, but eventually I'd love to see it turn into a cultural thing, where the government is on side with stuff like that. But we got to start somewhere, and right now I think we're starting with companies like SpaceX.
Okay. Yes, Chris. Yes, it's coming.
Yeah,
over
but I was
to
going to jump in on a couple of points there. I'm excited to see what SpaceX are doing. I'm more excited to see that there's about 10 or 12 other companies worldwide all doing similar things. Like you've got Scale Composites, Virgin Galactic, EAD Astrum, and several others. And you've also got another 10 or 12 that are sort of in the development stages on there, and that's great. And national organisations like NASA, ESA, the Japanese Space Administration are great for like the pure science missions. The things like Rosetta, the things like the Mars landers. When it comes to sort of commercial and more routine space flight, that's ideal for companies there, because you can make money out of launching satellites, the space tourism thing on that, but it's much harder to predict an investment return on doing like a 10-year like mission to Pluto on that. But even going beyond that, there are several companies now looking at feasibility of asteroid mining on there. There are companies looking at feasibility for space elevators, which is a bit pie in the sky at the moment because we don't have the materials required to string a cable from orbit to Earth yet. But we're nearly at the point where, there's no way of sort of manufacturing that. But it's possible that for something like a lunar base in the foreseeable future, there might be a way of doing that. A space elevator from the moon to lunar orbit, and then maybe Mars. All of these very exciting things are all sort of coming up. The more and more people are getting involved in this. So the next 5 years are going to be, I think, really exciting.
The moon or Mars as a spaceship factory is completely imaginable.
Yeah. As for other planets, that's the other thing that's really exciting. We're now at a stage where we can actually, the thousands of candidate planets that Kepler's brought back, many of them need to be confirmed and checked. But we're actually at a point now where we might be able to answer the question, is there anyone out there? We may have an answer to that relatively soon.
That'd be
You see, we
wonderful.
do have all the technology necessary to make a space elevator, a colony on the moon, and get to other planets, solar cells, proton drives, you name it. We have all that tech. The limiting factor is the fact that everything runs on money.
For getting to other planets outside the solar system, nowhere near.
Outside the solar system, we would require advanced cryogenics.
Well, at this point, we can
leave that.
save that.
It's going to get a bit mad. Yeah.
We're gonna table that for right now. Ashley, since you've been exceedingly, quiet for the most part, what would you like to drop on this as far as the space exploration, the privatization, SpaceX itself?
I really don't have an opinion. I'll just ask, did anybody see Interstellar?
I did. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
I did
same.
too.
Sorry, correction. That I thought was brilliant up until the last 15 minutes, where things seem to have got a bit weird.
Well, I thought that was cool, but I thought it was cool. I didn't get it, but
Yeah.
I thought
A bit weird there, Chris. I think you're giving it a little bit too much credit.
Well, how about this, Ashley? Let me run it from a different angle then. Would you, money no object, would you like to have the opportunity of taking the trip up into orbit? Money no object and safety not even a concern.
Then yes.
It's just a safety thing, man. It gets everybody every time. I can't imagine why. Cool enough. So let me kind of wrap a couple of pieces all together on this one to close us out. I think SpaceX is a wonderful, wonderful endeavor. Virgin Galactic too, and all of the other privatized and smaller groups, because they've been building on the research. And that is where this all ties together. NASA, the governments that have incredibly huge pockets to be able to fund the scientific exploration, the research, to find out what works, what doesn't, what's out there, what is still yet to be discovered. That's where the deep pockets really come in. And that's where the idea that Dallin was talking about, where we all kind of pitch in together for a common goal, really comes to the fore. Even though it's kind of in the infancy of what we would expect to see from a Star Trek universe. NASA and the government and JPL and all these other groups, they do the research. They publish the papers. They make the information known. It's only now, in the end of the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century, when the cost for the technology is able to really become effective. The Ansari X Prize, for instance, was a huge, huge push. And that had been going on for, I forget how long it had been going on, but the better part of 20 years, as I recall. Don't quote me on that one. I don't recall. Something tells me it was about 20 years that had been in place. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the idea that we, as a species, are now able to do more is both a wonderful and a chilling thing. Because we have the ability of, with a little extra money, and I'm using the term very loosely, get up there into space recreationally. Yeah, it takes 20 mil, but it's still possible. And then something cool happened with it all. Something amazing to me. The idea of open source, of saying, I've learned how to do blah. I'm going to put the information out there for everybody to use. One of the people that we've had on the show before, Sam Mulvey, has been working on building up his radio station software from scratch, and has said, after I get this done and I know that it's working right and I know it's rock solid, I'm putting the source code out there for everybody else to use. How cool is that? The opportunity for all of the research that has come through from all of the space exploration and all of the Voyager probes and the Mariner probes and Beagle 2 being located, landed properly, not impacted on Mars like we originally thought, with all the joking. That information is freely available. The ability to look at any spot on the moon because it's been mapped out through Google Earth, which I know. Just there is a setting so you can go and you can check that out and look at the moon. Just view all of it. And it's freely available for anybody to go and find. The math that explains how to get into orbit, the fluid dynamics of the atmosphere, all that stuff is publicly available knowledge. All you got to do is just apply it. And we've got that. We've got the pieces. And then I got the chance to watch the unveiling of the Dragon 2 capsule. And they have developed a new system that uses the old technology for the capsules with a heat shield so it can come in with lander legs and 3D printed engines that are built onto it so it can land under power anywhere you could land a helicopter with pinpoint precision within 1 meter. How fucking cool is that? The company that produces the Tesla automobiles said, you know what? All the information about our charging system, we're going to put the patents out there and we're not going to charge anybody. You want to use the patents? Go, use them. You want to build off of them? Cool. You want to reproduce them? Cool. You want to build new stuff and make them better than what they were? Cool. Have at it. So that the information, the technology, the ability is there so nobody's hampered in building something new, something better, something innovative, because they did the research and they said, here's what we found out. Have at it. How noble. How fucking amazing. How glorious that a species can say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to give it to you. No, don't pay me back. Don't pay it forward. Just have at it. Do. And I will sit back and I will smile while I watch you do something cool. And who knows? Maybe you'll find out later that one of the circuit boards that was sent up to the International Space Station on one of these rockets, built off of research from 50 years worth of NASA technology, has etched on the circuit board a picture of Princess Celestia because somebody thought it would be funny. Believe it or not, that's actually a thing. Look it up later. As always, everyone, thank you so very much for watching with us tonight. I hope that you've enjoyed yourselves and have not ended up as tipsy as I have tonight. We know it's not a sexy vlogcast, but we think that all of our opinions, our perspectives are worthwhile, and we certainly hope that you found something worth in all of it. As always, I would like to thank the panel for having joined us this evening. Joey, thank you so much for your time, and you get yourself some good sleep.
I will try. Thank you all, and we'll see you all again next week.
Joseph, thank you very much for your time. Good morning to you, and have a great day.
You too, sir.
Sir, he calls me. Unrenowned Tech. Good night, man. You have yourself a good.
Good night, man. And good night, everybody. And I just want to close with an apology because I've been thinking about what Heretic Woman said, and I've been thinking about my stance on the whole Shirtgate thing, and I realized, literally, just like in the last 5 minutes, that, you know, my opinion of his shirt being okay but his tattoos not is extremely hypocritical, because the shirt's no different than the tattoos or piercings or anything else for that matter. So, yeah, I was wrong. I will admit it. There was absolutely nothing wrong with his tattoo showing because, like I said, it's no different from the shirt or somebody with piercings. The only time it's wrong is if your company says in your dress code guidelines it's not allowed and you're breaking the rules, fine, so be it. And I think that's my problem is I'm used to working for too many companies that had those kind of dress code guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
you know what? I don't have a problem with that stuff.
So,
Thank
congratulations on a changed mind, Tech.
Very cool. Heretic Woman, thank you very much for your time, hon. You stay warm up there, huh?
I'm trying. And thank you, Tech. That's awesome. I appreciate the self-reevaluation.
Well, I've got to be honest with myself, and it took your statement to do it.
Well, thank you. Success. And yes, thank you for having me. And since you were whining a bit earlier, I'm going to plug my shows. So,
okay, fine.
Beyond the Trailer Park is now Wednesdays at 9:30 because we are now part of Secular TV. So do check us out. And my new podcast, My Secular Savior, we have 3 episodes out. This is pre-recorded audio, so mysecularsavior.com. You can find us there, and we are up on Stitcher and iTunes as of this week. So.
Cool. Dallin, of course, thank you very much for your time. You also stay warm up there. And enjoy playing with the black deck over there behind your right shoulder.
Oh, I have one of those too.
Take a look over your right shoulder.
Yes. Yeah, I brought that to, well, actually, a friend of mine brought his to a gathering we had up in Edmonton a while back. And, well, the table started with just the 2 of us. And within 15 minutes, we had 7 people around laughing until we just about had an accident.
I'm trying to organize a hangout game, so...
You let me know when that happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. I've never played it.
You better let me know, too.
I believe
I
there's
had fun with
an
Michael
online
Jackson
version.
and
Okay.
Boy Scouts of America.
So, Dallin, plug all your shit, would you please?
Yeah. What shit? What do I have? Yes, I do have the recently resurrected podcast for a book I'm working on called Outcast, which you can find at outcastnovel.yo5.ca. Other than that, this is really the only other piece of new media that I work in. So, if you can't find me here, you can find me there. And with the other podcast, you'll actually get my real name. Oh, anyways. But yeah, as always, Shujin, I'm glad to be here. I try to make it every week, but of course, real life gets in the way. But I try to make it when I can, and I'm glad when I do.
I appreciate it. Chris, also, good morning for you, and you have yourself a great morning.
Thank you, Shijin. It's a pleasure to be here again. And again, Tech, thanks very much for that. I know it takes a lot to come out and say that you've been wrong and you've reevaluated your position.
I love
Well,
that.
if I can't admit that I'm wrong, how can I expect other people to admit when they're wrong?
Fair enough.
Just a point. It's just that there's nothing wrong with being wrong. And actually, I have a blog. It's called a Brain Fart Diary. Well, nobody reads it, but I recently made an entry called "The Beauty of Being Wrong." So, don't sweat it.
Cool. And Ashley, thank you very much for coming back. We missed you. I'm so glad to know that you're doing okay. What have you been doing? What can we plug for you? What are you doing? You got to be slumming on somebody else's show. What's going on?
No, I haven't really been doing anything, so...
You could laugh at least. God damn.
Well, when I almost laughed when Sujin said, "What can we plug for you?" and it was like, well, you are talking to a woman,
Yes,
so.
yes, I know.
Oh.
Dun-dun-dun.
But in all seriousness, Ashley, it's good to have you back, and I hope that everything's going well for you, hon.
Yeah, today is my parents' 30th wedding anniversary.
Oh, fun.
So
I
So
call
did you tell him you're an atheist on the 30th anniversary?
I told him that a few months ago, and it's been different ever since.
but I hope that it was at least a good party, and I assume that you guys had some kind of celebration.
Well, it just started like the 25th, so it just started.
Mm.
Gotcha. Well, in that case, I hope that it's an enjoyable day.
Well, I guess not for me, but
Well, one would hope that there would be some sharing of the whatever. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. I'm the kind of person that would think that you'd actually share in the day with people, because it's just me. Anyway, we need to see about getting ourselves on out of here, so let me go ahead and close this out. There is, to paraphrase from one of the great detectives, there are plans afoot. Now, we're not going to discuss them on air at this point. We're working on some stuff behind the scenes. We discussed part of it off the air before we got on. We will continue to work through it, and maybe for the quote-unquote 1-year show, which will be episode 52, maybe we will come up with something to let you guys know about. If not, then probably in the near future right after that. But it's not necessarily going to be an easy thing, but it might be worthwhile. So we will see what happens.
what was the?
So, as always, everyone, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you all again next week. If you have ideas or commentary that you'd like to send our way, please, by all means, send it over to me at shujintribble or at shujintribble@gmail.com. Please put "holy crap" in the subject line. That would be wonderful. And, of course, if you want to utilize the phone line for whatever reason, it is 859, yeah, I keep forgetting to use it, 859-4288-554, 859-HCTV-554, and I will catch up with you guys soon. You may find me on some blogs in Facebook commentary every once in a while. I don't chime in very often, but I'd like to think that when I do, I've got something worthwhile for you. I'm thinking of one post in the TGIA members-only lounge that came up. If anyone has seen that particular post that I commented on and knows anything about it, just know full well that my heart goes out. Until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, I say mega nice for all of you. I say mega nice for my lady, too. Because 9.5 years on, I am still in love. Matane Fujin, I love you and I miss you. You dream of me. As always, for all of you, on behalf of the panel, we wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. Until the next time we get together, everyone, as always, good night.